Hey there, Jim Brees here from GreenGrowth CPAs, and today we're going to talk about cash flow management. It's one of the most important things for a cannabis business operator because cash is the oxygen of your business. If you don't manage your cash properly, you're going to run into a lot of problems. So let's go ahead and hop right into today's presentation. Hey there, my name is Jim Brees from GreenGrowth CPAs, and today we're going to talk about best practices for managing your cash on hand as a cannabis business. So as you understand, when you start a business and you're going through all these expenses and build out and all the things that come along with that, managing your cash is incredibly important to the health of your business. If you have no cash, you have no business, right? Because cash is the oxygen of your business. So today we're going to walk through how you prioritize that cash in a cannabis business so you can see yourself succeeding in 12, 18, 24 months. But before we do, I need to let you know that the information contained in this presentation is meant for guidance purposes only and not as professional legal or tax advice. And further, it does not give any personalized legal, tax, investment, or any business advice in general. So real quick, what we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about the context of cash and cannabis. You may be up to speed on this, but let's just give a little more color and context to that. Then we'll discuss what cash flow is, then how to prioritize your working capital, and why you need a rainy day fund. Most cannabis businesses do not have that. They're living every 30 days, just barely making it by the skin of their teeth. We're going to talk about why you need a rainy day fund as a cannabis company or as any type of business overall. So the 280E regulation requires that cannabis operators deal with an inordinate amount of cash, right? The term cash flow takes on a very new and different meaning for cannabis businesses in this cash-heavy industry, right? Again, cash is the oxygen of any business, and when you're just starting out, it's likely that you may have some cash flow issues. It's understandable, but we're going to try to mitigate some of those issues. And one study found that poor management of cash flow is the cause of 82% of all business failures in the United States. Early initial expenses like rent, licensing fees, build-out costs, and taxes can sink your cash flow before you even get a chance to generate any sales. There are always ways to mitigate risks to your cash flow by choosing which bills to pay first and building a rainy day fund, as we talked about earlier, for when you actually get in trouble or you experience these tight times. So in this video, we're going to discuss how to prioritize your working capital to help you stay out of the red and help you succeed as a cannabis business operator. So first, we're going to talk about and explain what is cash flow. So cash flow is a key business metric that describes the net amount of cash and cash equivalents being transferred into and out of a business. And all businesses face some challenges in regulating their cash flow. This is not unique to the cannabis industry. But in the cannabis industry, however, the production life cycle of cannabis, as well as taxes and banking regulations, make it incredibly difficult for operators to have enough cash on hand to cover their operating expenses. Cannabis operators must pay close attention to the cash flow because it can mean the difference between staying afloat and sinking into financial ruin. We see this day in and day out with people who become new clients, and we look at their books and we say, wow, you really have some cash flow issues here. No wonder you're having a lot of stress and, problems managing paying your bills. So in previous videos, we've talked about other cash flow management tips, from knowing your inventory life cycle, planning for emergencies, outsourcing your CFO function to someone more sophisticated and experienced in managing cash flow in your accounting, practicing good bookkeeping so you know where your money is at and you know where your money is going, and working with an experienced investor who can give you confidence all along the way or even patch you some extra cash during those thin times. In addition to those strategies, cannabis operators, just like yourself, should prioritize their working capital to meet their financial obligations when cash flow is tight. So let's jump into how to prioritize your working capital as a cannabis business. So we're going to go over 5 main pillars of cash flow management on things that you should pay first if they're applicable to your business on a monthly basis. So first, taxes. You need to set aside a reserve and pay for your taxes collected on the sale of products to the state and local government. You are legally required to pay taxes, which is why this should be your first priority. After sales taxes, from the general operating account, reserve and pay for federal and state income taxes for your business. Next, set aside and pay any federal or state employment-related taxes for employees. And lastly, please, never ever, for any reason under under any circumstances, use your tax reserves to help flow any operating capital. If you get into a bind with your company, say you run very thin on operating capital, and then a tax deadline comes up and you have no money to pay for that, you are going to be bumming. You'll probably see on top of that tax bill some fees, some penalties, and potentially interest. And that is compounding interest. And it can grow quickly and become a very, very big issue for your cannabis business. It's like that snowball that just gets way too big and ends up knocking down all the pins. So after taxes, rent and utilities comes up next, right? And you should pay your lease and any utilities as well as any other expenses that are related to your business's premises, things like insurance, right? Because if you can't keep your doors open and your lights on, it's unlikely that you're going to get out of your cash flow crunch. So have your rent paid, your utilities paid, and again, any other expenses that are dealing with the business premises. Then after you get past those rent and utilities and those expenses, let's then prioritize number 3, other business expenses, right? Things like vendor accounts payable, salaries owed to your employees, and other selling and general administrative expenses that need to be covered. Anything else that you need to pay out to manage your business and operate your business. Once that's covered, then we're going to hit on the rainy day fund. I've talked about this, I think, 3-4 times already. We'll talk about this more in a little bit, but a rainy day fund is crucial to building stability for your business. Rainy day funds are good in case of emergencies. They always happen. It's always raining in cannabis, okay? So make sure you have a rainy day fund. Then once all those expenses are cleared, if you have any other cash that you can pay out, if you have shareholders that are not yourself, can do payouts to those investors or to those stakeholders. As funds become available and are not needed to, otherwise cover any operating expenses for your company, you may make payments to your investors, shareholders in proportion to their percentage of ownership. So let's dig into a little bit more why you must have a rainy day fund, right? Again, I said this before, it's always raining in the cannabis industry. Things are always changing. Unexpected expenses come up. So what you're going to want to do is just select a percent of your cash flow every month, put that into a fund. You can just create an account in your chart of accounts that you just allocate cash over to this fund. It could be sitting just in cash in your safe, in a specific till box. Just put that in there and let that grow over time. And the goal is to have 60 days of operating expenses in liquid cash on hand. Maybe it's in the bank, doesn't have to be cash, but at least some kind of liquid capital on hand. And this is used to bridge during those thin times when you maybe have seasonality of sales and it comes down and you don't have enough cash flow coming in. Your business is not going to close because you have that reserve cash on hand to cover those expenses. But then sometimes, unexpected expenses come up. Sometimes like recruiting a new headcount, someone quits, or you get a new contract where you need to bring in more packaging people or more manufacturing people to fulfill on that order. Can't just hire them with no cash, so this helps bring in new headcount. Or you see things like that disaster that's happening up in Northern California, forest fires, PG&E starts to cut power. Now you need to potentially go buy a generator to turn on your power so that you can continue to cure your cannabis or keep your lights on. These are very important expenses that are unexpected that you must cover. And private bridge loans are not always available to cannabis companies, right? It's not like you can just go to the bank and say, hey, loan me $70,000, especially if you don't have a cannabis bank account. But if you do get a private bridge loan, it's usually collateralized against your assets, right? Your big assets or very good accounts receivable, right? Things that are not aged, but they're turning quickly. Private investors will see that your receivables are being paid within 15 or 30 days consistently. Maybe they'll lend you some cash. But again, having this rainy day fund increases confidence for yourself and for your investors. When you have that money, you're not lying awake at night thinking, oh man, how are we going to cover our bills? How are we going to keep the lights on? Oh, how are we going to pay our taxes? You need to do great cash flow management to increase that confidence within your business. So thank you for taking the time to learn about how to prioritize your cash on hand, as well as why you need a rainy day fund as a cannabis company. So if you need help with managing your cash flow or getting your hands in a better understanding of your accounting for your cannabis business, then please reach out to GreenGrowth CPAs today by visiting our website at greengrowthcpas.com or give us a call at 800-674-9050. We can help you understand the financial nuts and bolts of your cannabis company and help you improve your cash flow management and cash on hand management. Again, reach out to us at greengrowthcpas.com or give us a call at 800-674-9050. Have a great day and we'll talk to you soon.